the golden handcuffs and the system failure, setting the stage. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Elias Sterling, and for those of you new here, I spent the first 2 decades of my professional life designing system architectures for multinational corporations. Now, I apply that same logic, the logic of efficiency, redundancy, and scalability to personal finance, specifically for the demographic trapped in what I call the high-earning mediocrity zone. You are the professionals, the managers, the consultants, the specialized workers making well into 6 figures, perhaps even flirting with 7. You generate serious revenue, yet you often feel financially fragile. This is the definition of the golden handcuffs trap. You are paid enough to live comfortably, but not enough to feel truly secure or wealthy. You know, the advice that's handed out on mainstream financial platforms: cut back on your daily coffee. It's simplistic, reductive, and frankly, insulting to someone operating at your complexity level. You're not trying to save $50. You're trying to fundamentally re-architect your future. Yet, the mainstream advice contains a kernel of truth, just incorrectly framed. The $8 coffee is not the antagonist. It is merely the most visible symptom of a profound systemic flaw operating within your personal economy. We need to look beyond the cost item itself and analyze the process it represents. I call this core systemic flaw the financial memory leak. In IT, a memory leak occurs when a computer program improperly manages the memory it is allocated, preventing that memory from being freed up when the task is complete. Over time, these small, constant failures deplete the entire system's available resources, leading to slowdowns, instability, and eventually, a total crash. Your finances operate identically. You allocate $X for core living expenses and $Y for savings, but a constant, invisible stream of microtransactions to $8 coffee, the impulse Amazon Prime order, the unused subscription are failing to be properly deallocated or accounted for. They are small, individually, but cumulatively, they drain your financial RAM until the system performance drops to 0. If your goal is to build a critical $5,000 safety buffer, the memory leak is the silent process that continuously reroutes those funds away from the savings directory and into the consumption loop. We are going to debug that loop today. Diagnosing the leak source, the $8 variable. Let's quantify the impact of the $8 variable, moving past emotional judgment and into hard data. If you spend $8 on a coffee or a similar daily ritual 5 days a week, that equates to $40 weekly. Over 50 working weeks, that's $2,000 per year. For an upper middle class professional, $2,000 may seem insignificant. This is the psychological trap. You look at your 6-figure income and dismiss $2,000 as noise. This rationalization is where the memory leak gains persistence. You are judging the amount based on your gross income, not on its percentage impact on your disposable surplus, the exact amount you are trying to reserve for your $5,000 goal. To reach a $5,000 target, you need approximately 625 instances of $8 to be retained rather than spent. If you are consistently hemorrhaging $2,000 a year to low utility, high-frequency transactions, your savings objective is instantly deferred by 10 months before factoring in any other expenses. But the real danger lies in the consumption of your bandwidth. Bandwidth, in this context, is your finite cognitive capacity for making high-quality financial decisions. When you spend $8, you are not just spending the money, you are spending mental energy deciding if it's worth it because the amount is small. The brain processes it quickly, marking it as a low-risk, low-impact transaction. This leads to decision fatigue. If you have to consciously veto 30 small, trivial purchases a week, you exhaust your bandwidth. By the time you need to make a genuinely complex, high-stakes decision, like restructuring that investment portfolio or negotiating a 6-figure home loan, your decision-making hardware is already running on low power due to the relentless background processing of trivial expenditures. The leak accelerates because these microtransactions rarely enter your formal budget spreadsheet. They operate in the shadow economy of your finances, the gray area where convenience overrides logic. You have robust protocols for rent, insurance, and retirement contributions. But these low-level transactions are granted implicit permission, turning what should be an exception into the default operating procedure. We must close this vulnerability immediately. The bloatware problem, lifestyle, inflation. The memory leak is often compounded by another common architectural flaw in the upper middle class system. Bloatware refers to the unnecessary software programs that come pre-installed on a new device, consuming space and processing power without adding significant utility. In your financial life, bloatware is lifestyle inflation disguised as necessity. This includes subscriptions you rarely use, the streaming service for one niche show, the monthly meal kit deliveries that create waste, the premium tier software when the free version suffices. These are programs constantly running in the background, adding friction and cost. The transition from earning more to spending more is often seamless. A silent installation of bloatware that happens the moment your income bumps up. You moved from the basic car to the premium lease. You upgraded the kitchen not because the old one failed, but because your new income bracket deemed it appropriate. This bloatware doesn't feel like a leak because it's a conscious, albeit often regretted, decision. It becomes a critical issue when you realize that servicing the bloatware prevents you from building critical infrastructure. For example, if you spend $300 monthly on various subscription services and unnecessary upgrades, classic bloatware that's $3,600 a year that could have been allocated directly toward your financial firewall. A firewall is the ultimate defense. A robust liquid emergency fund like that, $5,000 gold designed to withstand sudden shocks. When people engage in financial bloatware acquisition, they are often attempting to compensate for deeper systemic essentially trying to overclock their perceived happiness by spending money, but instead simply creating burnout and draining their system's longevity. Wait, stop scrolling for a second. If you're nodding along, realizing you have at least 3 apps you pay for but haven't opened in a month, hit the like button. That single click acknowledges that you recognize the bloatware, and it's the first step to deleting it. Let's get back to the diagnosis. The bloatware dilemma highlights a fundamental mismatch between resource allocation and strategic objectives. You prioritize comfort and social signaling, the bloatware over protection and security, the firewall. This must be reversed if you want to escape the reliance on a paycheck and attain true systemic resilience. Legacy code in the financial OS. We've discussed the symptoms, the memory leak, and the bloatware, but to truly patch the system, we must address the legacy code. Legacy code refers to the old, inherited, often inefficient programming that the system still runs because removing it is too complex or risky, even though it hampers performance. In financial terms, legacy code is a set of deep-seated beliefs, assumptions, and emotional responses to money that you inherited, primarily from your parents or immediate social environment. Perhaps you grew up in scarcity, and your adult solution is always spend it before it's gone, or conversely, you grew up with comfort, leading to the belief that financial stress is for poor people. My income will always solve the problem. This legacy code dictates why the $8 coffee habit persists, even when you know better. The $8 transaction is often a self-soothing mechanism, a small, tangible reward for the high-performance life you lead. It's the daily confirmation that you deserve this comfort. This is the emotional payload attached to the transaction, making it far more powerful than its monetary value suggests. Think about the standard definition of success you run on. Was that definition programmed into you by advertising and societal pressure, suggesting that success equals conspicuous consumption? If the default setting in your financial operating system is consumer mode rather than investor mode, every system calculation defaults to spending. Trying to budget without addressing the underlying legacy code is like applying a cosmetic skin patch to a critical kernel vulnerability. Looks better, but the system is still fundamentally compromised. To debug the legacy code, you must perform a forensic analysis of your spending triggers. Ask, when do I default to the $8 expense? Is it tied to stress, boredom, social pressure? Often, the spending behavior is simply a low-friction solution to an emotional problem. We must replace that destructive code with a new high-utility subroutine mindful pause protocol before the transaction is executed. This is the hardest part of the upgrade, but it guarantees longevity. Building the financial firewall, the $5,000 objective. Let's shift the conversation from defense stopping the leak to proactive architecture achieving that critical $5,000 objective. This $5,000 is not just savings. It is your financial firewall. It's the essential preliminary line of defense against unexpected catastrophic events. The upper middle class is particularly susceptible to zero-day exploits. In cybersecurity, a zero-day exploit is a vulnerability that is unknown to the software developer, meaning there is no patch available when the attack occurs. In finance, this is the sudden, catastrophic expense on unexpected medical bill. a major home repair, a sudden job market downturn for which you have no pre-programmed patch. Without a firewall, a zero-day exploit forces you into high-interest debt or liquidating long-term investments, causing massive damage to your system's future stability. The $5,000 buffer is non-negotiable infrastructure. If your financial firewall is incomplete, your entire architecture is unstable. Focusing solely on stopping the $8 leak is insufficient if you don't redirect that recovered capital into the designated security module. To effectively build this firewall, we must operate in sandbox mode. Sandbox mode is an isolated testing environment where changes can be implemented and tested without affecting the main operating system. For your $5,000 goal, sandbox mode means dedicating a separate high-yield savings account that is physically and psychologically distinct from your checking account. This account is purely for the firewall and must have zero expenditure permissions. I want you to pause and visualize your primary bank account right now. Is it a unified field where deposits and withdrawals happen seamlessly? If so, you have no separation between your operational budget and your security protocols. Your goal shouldn't just be $5,000 saved. It should be $5,000 secured. This separation is the key to psychological compliance and effective resource tracking. Every dollar recovered from deleting bloatware or patching the memory leak must be immediately and automatically routed to the sandbox. This guarantees that the recovered resources fulfill their mission and are not accidentally consumed by an adjacent process. The speed of implementation is critical here. The longer the cache sits in checking, the higher the risk of accidental consumption. Debugging and patching the system. Fixing a memory leak requires systematic debugging and the implementation of automated patching protocols. This is where systems logic overrides human willpower, which is inherently unreliable. We are going to implement the 3-tier audit to ensure comprehensive system remediation. Tier 1, the bloatware kill, conduct a ruthless, itemized audit of every recurring charge over the last 90 days. If a service doesn't contribute materially to income generation, health, or essential security, it is flagged as bloatware terminated. Do not pause, terminate. If you find a charge for $15 you forgot about, that's an immediate $180 annual recovery money that goes straight to the firewall. We need to eliminate this friction point entirely. Tier 2, category cap implementation. Identify your leak-prone categories. For many, this is dining out, online shopping, or daily rituals where the $8 coffee lives. Instead of creating a restrictive, complex line item budget that relies on moment-to-moment willpower, implement a hard category cap. If your cap for daily rituals is $100 per month, when you hit that ceiling, the category turns red and consumption ceases automatically. This is less about saving pennies and more about simplifying this. You replace 30 decisions a month with one monthly adherence check. This preserves your bandwidth. Tier 3, automated patching protocol. This is the most crucial step. You must automate the transfer of recovered capital. If your $8 daily coffee habit was costing you $200 a month, set up an automatic transfer of that exact $200 amount from checking to your firewall sandbox account on the first day of the month. You are essentially paying your firewall before you pay the consumption habits. This mechanism is non-negotiable. Automation removes emotion and cognitive load from the equation. It forces the system to run the new optimized code, making the firewall build up a background process rather than a taxing manual endeavor. If you commit to this 3-tier audit, you will not only plug the $8 leak, but you will likely uncover hundreds more dollars of redundant costs, accelerating your progress toward the $5,000 goal dramatically. This is how high-performance systems operate. They prioritize automation and redundancy over reliance on human intervention. Think about your current financial system. How often does your conscious effort, your willpower fail you? Once a week. Once a day. That failure is a direct result of relying on manual oversight for low-level transactions. The solution is always structural, not behavioral. Automate the fix and watch the system stabilize. Scaling the architecture from $5,000 to wealth algorithm. Once the memory leak is fixed, the bloatware is deleted, and the $5,000 financial firewall is robustly in place. What's next? You have successfully completed the fundamental operating system update. Now, the objective shifts from defense and repair to aggressive, scalable system architecture Your immediate next step is to redefine your financial goals using the concept of the wealth algorithm. This algorithm takes your stabilized income and allocates it according to strategic leverage, not immediate consumption. The common 50-30-20th budget framework is often too passive. We need something more aggressive for high earners, ready to escape the matrix. A high-performance wealth algorithm prioritizes security, aggressive investment, and then managed lifestyle. 1. Security firewall expansion. Scale the $5,000 firewall to 3 to 6 months of living expenses. This is the necessary infrastructure to give you true career freedom and resilience against any future economic shock. 2. Aggressive investment system acceleration. Dedicate a significant percentage, 20%, 30%, or more to long-term, high-growth vehicles. This recovered capital from fixing the memory leak should be automatically directed into your retirement accounts or brokerage accounts. This is the difference between simply saving and actively compounding wealth. 3. Managed lifestyle. Only allocate residual funds to lifestyle spending. This is where you enjoy the fruits of your labor, but strictly within the parameters set by the system architecture. The key takeaway from this deep script is that success lies in shifting control from the low-level, emotional, daily transactions, the $8 variable, to the high-level, automated, strategic systems. You must stop making small decisions frequently and start making major decisions rarely, but correctly. By fixing the financial memory leak, you have not just saved money, you have freed up cognitive bandwidth, secured your system against zero-day exploits, and fundamentally changed your financial operating code. You have transitioned from managing scarcity to optimizing abundance. Use this newly optimized system architecture to build the multi-layered wealth that truly breaks the golden handcuffs forever. It's time to move beyond hope and start executing the wealth algorithm. If you take only one piece of advice from this session, let it be this: scheduled 90 minutes right now to execute the 3D audit. Not tomorrow, not tonight, right now. You cannot debug the system while the code is running. Pause, audit, automate, and finally scale. Thank you for tuning in. Execute the architecture. I'll see you in the next session.